So, I wanted to come on here and do this review of a three-part finale for a series that I don't know gets that much love or not, because it kind of gets lost in the shuffle. And of course, if you read the title below and you see the title on the screen, I'm talking about The Rebirth, which was the three-part Season 4 series finale for Transformers Generation 1. That's right. This was the only story arc that they presented for Season 4. There was nothing additionally afterwards. This was the only thing. Now, obviously, from what I understand from the late David Wise, when they interviewed him for the Rhino set, when they released the series, originally Rhino used to be the Kid Rhino, that is, used to be one of the video distributors. He was happy that not only did they bring Optimus Prime back, but that he was being asked to come on board to do these final episodes. But I think in a way he kind of alluded to in this interview, as well as in other interviews, that there was talk to probably do more, but that never came to be. Instead, what happened was basically afterwards, they decided, this being Japan and all, they decided to go in a little bit of a different, direction. And what I mean by different direction is Japan decided they wanted to continue Generation 1, but ignore the events of the Rebirth. Instead, they were going to continue off of the Return of Optimus Prime and start building their own mythology, their own continuation of the G1 continuity. Now, obviously, this had some animation errors, if you know what I mean, especially when it came to certain character appearances, since certain characters had been killed off in the movie and somewhat killed off in the Rebirth finale, or at least deactivated to the point of death. So yeah, Japan went off in their own direction after the Return of Optimus Prime, and like I said, completely ignored the Rebirth. And they came up with their own mythology of how the headmasters came to be and all that. And of course, this would lead into several sequels that would come afterwards. Like Super God Master Force and Victory. All still within the G1 continuity. Because again, like I said, they had appearances by characters of the original G1 series here in America. Now, with that said though, let's look at Rebirth. Now this three-part finale is looked at kind of in a very mixed way. I mean, a lot of people did enjoy it. I enjoyed it, there's no doubt. But you can kind of tell that this was at a time when they were rushing animation. I mean, let's be honest. None of us probably expected them to do the two-part Return of Optimus Prime Series 3 finale. None of us expected that, which is why Part 1 and Part 2 are animated differently. And Part 2 feels more like it's part anime instead of traditional animation. But be that as it may, basically, none of us expected, them to, bring back Optimus, because of the backlash, especially with a two-part episode, having to be done and created within the time frame that the series was still going on. I mean, obviously, they had to really just, get right to it and get that two-parter done, along with the three-part Rebirth finale. And of course, the Rebirth was made purposely to continue off the end of Season 3, but also to introduce the Headmaster gimmick. But what was unique about, the Headmaster gimmick and the Target Master gimmick in both of these, not both of these, but in this three-part finale, what was interesting about it is there was one Headmaster that never officially got a figure release. And I don't think they did it even recently with a lot of the reissues or the Target Master updated figure releases of characters that never had it, for like Power of the Primes and all that. And that one character, believe it or not, was RC. That's right. You see, even Perceptor in the Titans Returns, actually it's Titans Returns, not Power of the Primes, but the Titans Returns re-releases of some of the G1 characters, like I said, they basically have been turned into headmasters, even though essentially in the animated series, the Japanese continuation of the G1 series, and even the Marvel comic book and such, they never touched upon or even hinted at the fact that characters like Perceptor or Megatron or Galvatron had become headmasters of any kind. But yet, there was, again, like I said, one headmaster that was introduced in this finale that didn't get a figure. That, of course, was RC. RC became a headmaster. She was the only female headmaster, as far as I know. Maybe there are more that have been released toy-wise, but she was the only female headmaster at that time. Now, RC, of course, never really got much, released in the form of figures, action figures and all that at that time. But, of course, she did get her just due over the past decade or so. But it's interesting because, like I said, the main purpose of the Rebirth 3-part finale was to basically sell people, on the headmaster's gimmick, on the headmaster characters, as well as introduce us to newer characters that served as the heads, that being the Nebulons. The Nebulons and the Hive, if you will. So this 3-part finale did its job there. And it really kind of, to me, served, when you really look back on it, it really did serve as a finale, because basically, not only did it allow the Autobots to pretty much win the war, and restore Cybertron back to its golden age as it once was, but it basically, left the Decepticons, drifting off in space to maybe, other galaxies light years away, hinting of whether or not, or teasing, I should say, whether or not they would make a return. But, again, the finale I thought was all right. I thought it was done very well, especially on the short notice that they did it. It was done very well. I mean, let's be honest. In this finale, whether you believe it or not, temporarily they did kill off several notable Transformers. They, from Decepticons to Autobots, they killed them. Even though temporarily, for like most of the Autobots, they still killed them. I mean, the bots get basically massacred, shot down by Six-Shot, and then of course the Combaticons. You have the Protector bots getting, shot down and blasted and everything. You have this whole, background pile of basically dead Autobots being taken apart and having the PAL packs pulled out. There were some deaths in here, which was, really amazing for that time. But you got to remember, the movie kind of set the tone of the fact that now things were off limits. Things were off limits when it came to Transformers. So, you could expect, even in the show, some characters to be killed temporarily or permanently. Now, as far as, like I said, getting back to the finale itself, it did its job, in my opinion. It really did its job to establish, who the headmasters were, who the Nebulons were, who the Hive were, how they came to be on both sides to join forces, basically, merge with each other, become basically like one and everything. I thought they did a decent job there. I thought they did a very, very decent job. There's no doubt about that. And again, they even though, like I said, she never got a figure originally, hopefully maybe they'll work on that down the line, I like the way that they played RC into the mix. Like, they didn't have to play her into the mix of being a headmaster, but they did it. And they did it because because it was the only way to save Daniel, because he basically saved her, from being attacked by one of the Decepticons, or the Decepticon animals, or what are they called, Monstercons, or whatever. He basically sacrificed himself to save her. So the only best thing was to repay him by, being his partner. And it does kind of hint that there might be something more than just like a motherly sibling kind of thing between them, but that's something for another story. And that's something to talk about in another video. But the point is, I like how they incorporated that, even though, she never really was meant to be a headmaster. She never really was meant to be that way. So, again, I like how they basically worked the concept out, made it, feel believable and organic from start to finish. I really enjoyed that. I also enjoyed Optimus's dilemma. Because, again, you got to realize this is taking place after the two-part, season 3 finale. So taking place after that, Optimus is, having these overwhelming feelings since he basically released all of the, power of the Matrix to save everybody from the hate plague in the season 3 finale. And now he's suddenly getting all these, as an after effect, he's getting these overwhelming feelings that something major is going to happen, and what he doesn't understand until he basically uses what's left of the Matrix to merge with Vector Sigma to get his answers and get them from Alpha Trion, is that Vector Sigma is basically the one that's making this all happen. Vector Sigma is the one that allowed for Galvatron to find out about, what's it called? Hold on for a sec. It was Vector Sigma that allowed Galvatron to find out about the plasma energy key to the plasma energy chamber. And thus, by, deducing it down to, I guess you could say the easiest figuring of outs, if you will, Victor Sigma is the one that basically is causing these overwhelming feelings, and Optimus basically letting him know that something is going to happen, and it's happening for a reason. And basically that's why, Optimus got, did what he did to get the answers, because it's all prolonged, all planned out by Vector Sigma to bring back the second, coming of the second golden age, or the second coming of the golden age of Cybertron. It was all basically prophesized, prolonged, by Vector Sigma, and it just needed certain key elements, or it just needed certain key elements to be in place for it to happen. So I like the fact that, Optimus, is feeling. So I like that, fact that, from a story element perspective, that he's feeling the after effects, but obviously now we get an idea that, him releasing the Matrix, him getting, the idea for the Matrix by traveling into it, wasn't just because of basically the first Autobot telling him, hey, we know what you've dealt with, what you're dealing with, and, somebody else, took care of it by doing this, but there's no way now. And Optimus realizing, hey, the only best way to do it is use the Matrix, obviously planted into him by Vector Sigma. So you can kind of get an idea that, what we got with the 3-part Rebirth finale pretty much got its origins, its foundation, right at the end of Return of Optimus Prime. So, again, overall, I like the fact that he's going through this, he's having these feelings, he's getting these visions, being told by Alpha Trion in a vision while they're on the Autobot ship going to Cybertron and then to Earth, that nothing can happen to or nothing must happen to the key or anything like that, because it's the key to the plasma energy key, because it's a key to a miracle, and all that. So I like the fact that they put that in there. I like the fact that they put that in there, because even though what he did at the end of the season 3 finale saved everybody, it shows that there was consequences. It shows that there were consequences, in him making that decision. So I like that they did that. I like that they added that in there overall. And it was a good showcase for a lot of the new toys they were trying to sell as well. Like Six Shot got his moment. You know, of course, you had some of the Target Master Autobots that were created for the Target Master line getting the moments. You know, I like how they even kind of alluded to the fact that Hot Rod, you know, being recently Rodimus Prime, you know, basically still kind of knew about certain things. Like when, you know, like when Optimus told them that Alpha Trion's the one that said that nothing can happen, nothing must happen to the, to the plasma energy key. I like how Hot Rod's like the first to point out Alpha Trion, you merged with Vector Sigma, because he knows it, and obviously he knows that because, him pointing it out is because he knows from being a Prime himself, basically, where Alpha Trion is and everything, because, like I said, he was in the role of leader at 1.2. So, overall, it's good. Ultra Magnus, he does get a chance to shine, basically show that no matter who the Prime is, he's going to be second in command. So, I like the fact that he's got moments here as well. Like, he's wondering with Optimus, what is going on. He wants answers, basically, like, he wants to know what's the deal with the key to the plasma energy chamber and everything, and Prime explaining to him what it is, the importance. So so basically everybody, from season 3, to the new figures and all that, got a moment to shine here, and I love that. Spike, of course, got a moment to shine, basically being the headmaster of Cerebros, and making Cerebros basically the headmaster of Fortress Maximus. Well, you had Zerak just being the main headmaster of Scorponok. So I like the fact that Spike Spike basically, definitely had a moment to show that he had learned a lot. He had learned a lot. With his time with the Autobots and everything, he's learned how to, be able to repair and make modifications when it comes to the Cybertronian technology, and kind of make it work in their favor. And I like how he basically is able to figure out, that the city that Cerebros found was, the city that the Hive used to live in before the bodies started to break down, as they started to use the mental powers to control the devices, the machines that would, basically do the bidding for them. So, I like the fact that, Spike is able to figure that out, and he's able to, use the controls that they used to use, the Hive that is, to basically rebuild the city into Fortress Maximus, and basically make it a lot more powerful than Zerak did. That Zerak did. Sorry about that. I was looking at something, trying to think about what I was going to say too. Basically, make it more powerful than Zerak did with Scorponok, because Scorponok was built, from the remains of the underground cities that they lived in. So I like the fact that Spike got a moment to shine here, and that was pretty cool. It was really cool and everything to see. So, and overall, besides a lot of those moments and stuff, I thought the 3-part finale served as a good finale as far as us Western animation, people are concerned. I like the fact that for us, from the Western side of things, the North American side of things, I like the idea that it served as a decent finale. It basically, like I said, it basically rounded up a lot of stuff. It basically helped some things come full circle. I loved it. I loved what they did here, and and it's unfortunate it was the finale for us here for us here state-wise and North American-wise, but I thought it was a decent way. I thought it was a decent way for them to go out, in my opinion. I thought it was a decent way for them to go out, and cannot wait honestly, and cannot wait honestly for the day that Shout Factory puts this series on Blu-ray, because you know what? If there's any series that deserves to have a Blu-ray release, it's Transformers. Whether it's just putting the episodes and the DVDs on the Blu-ray or whatever, this deserves it. And a finale like this, whether you liked it or you didn't, is basically one of the best ways to show that, in my opinion. One of the best ways, in my opinion, to show that. So, I just thought, again, I just wanted to come on here and give you this review on the Rebirth and everything, pretty much the finale for us state-wise and North American side-wise when it comes to G1. Let me know what your thoughts are down below on it. Comment if you like the video. Super chat, super stickers are open during the live chat, as well as super thanks after the premiere. Also, check me out at Venmo at Brian-Walmer-2 and at Cash App at BWRoses98. Also, check me out at DeviantArt.com/BVW1979. Check me out at VENMO at BWRoses for content you can't get on YouTube. Also, check me out at my Teespring store and at BWRoses Discussions for content you can't get anywhere. Well, not content, but basically to check out audio versions of my videos here on YouTube in audio format at all your favorite audio podcast locations except for Pandora. Almost kind of tied into something else I was talking about just moments ago. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are, guys. Love to hear from each and every one of you on this. And until then, I am out.